Hey everybody, this is Thomas and Tanner Gallant from Maritime Hockey. Today we are interviewing Drew MacIntyre. Drew had a long career. He was drafted by the Detroit Red Wings in the fourth round in 2001. Played with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Vancouver Canucks, Buffalo Sabres. Won the Spengler Cup twice. AHL All-Star. Won the championship in Japan, and is currently the developmental goalie coach and scout for the Jets in their AHL affiliate, the Manitoba Moose. So, Drew, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm great. Just in between goalie camps and lots going on, but it's great to be with you.
Now, I know you're a PEI boy, so you still live on the island, or are you
Yeah.
traveling everywhere? You're pretty much
Yeah.
still on the island. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I live here. We have a house here in Stratford.
Mm-hmm.
Born and raised in Stratford. Luckily, the Jets let me live at home all throughout the season, so I
Nice.
get to travel back and forth. Get lots of air miles, but really thankful that they, with my girls are 13 and 10, so wasn't the perfect. We didn't feel we wanted to move right away, right out of playing. So
Mm.
really thankful that the Jets were willing to work with us there.
Are the girls interested in playing goalie?
I got one goalie. I got a 10-year-old who's a goalie, and then a 13-year-old who's a defenseman, which is, I guess, the second best thing from being a goalie.
Yeah.
It's the other line of defense, right? So
Yeah, best friends. Goalie's best friend.
yeah. So growing up in PEI, when did you start playing hockey and what got you interested in playing goalie?
I come from a big family. My father had 13 in his family, and he was a goalie, and a bunch of his brothers and some of my older cousins were goalies. So it was an automatic thing that I was going to be a goalie. There was no kind of questions asked. Dad made me basically play 1 year of being a player. He said, "You got to learn how to skate." And, so that was a great decision by him because I just wanted to get right in the net, but he knew the importance of skating, which was great. So 1 year, I got into hockey right away, just like most kids. And 1 year of being a player, and then got a pair of pads, and the rest is history.
Yeah,
So,
footwork's so important too, right? When you're a goaltender. So
Yeah, that's for sure. It's if you come to my goalie school, you'll see a lot of skating.
hmm.
so growing up in PEI and the Maritimes in general, there wasn't a lot of goalies coming up through. Maybe when you were a kid, was there anyone you looked up to?
Pretty quick. As I guess it would be, I don't know, closer to 10 years old or teenager. I got quite into Andy Moog.
Mm.
You guys are probably too young for Andy Moog, but uh, he was my favorite. It's not like he was the best goalie or anything, but I loved the way he battled. He wasn't a huge goalie, but he got the job done. I loved his equipment, his style was awesome, and yeah, I followed him. So he was with the Bruins for a while. So Bruins were my team, but really I wasn't a very loyal fan. I more was a fan of him. So he was
Mm.
my favorite
Yeah.
goalie, but really I'd grow up going to my dad's old timers games and whatnot. So
Right.
I think it's safe to say my dad was my favorite goalie.
Ooh. So is Andy Moog who you styled your goaltending off of, or was there multiple people, or?
Yeah, I think I just learned from everyone. I
Mm.
don't think I really had a similar style to him, but I guess maybe I did. I wasn't huge, still not huge, but back in my day, I was big. Back in my
Yeah.
day, I was considered a big goalie, and now if I played my day, I'd be lucky to get drafted because I was only 6 foot. But
Right.
but yeah, it's he. I don't know. I don't know who I got a lot of Felix Potvin,
Mm.
but I don't know. That's a good question. My style adapted a lot. When you play 18 years, your style adapts, or else you won't be able to stick around and play. So
Yeah, especially with how the game has changed over the years too, right? So you got to adapt to how the game is played. So
yeah, for sure. If you're not open and willing to adapt and learn, then you're going to be a dinosaur really quick.
right.
Mm.
playing, coaching, whatever. If you're not constantly trying to learn, it's going to be a short career, I think.
So talking about you being drafted, you were drafted by the Red Wings. Like, what was your experience of being drafted? Like, were you expected to get drafted, or did you have that feeling, or was that just kind of like a surprise to you?
Yeah, you know what? I actually was pretty highly ranked going into my draft year. I remember there was a report saying had me ranked in the first round going into my draft year. I had a pretty good 16-year-old year. I got drafted and got to play as a 16-year-old in Sherbrooke in the queue, and it went pretty well. So yeah, I turned some heads and got some eyes on me pretty quick. I played with Team Canada U18 that summer. But I started the season and I put everything and anything on my shoulders, and all I thought about all day, every day was the draft. And I just shake myself if I go back and. But I learned a lot. I learned a ton. But I put way too much pressure on myself going into my draft year. Coming from PEI, you want to make people proud, and I thought being a first rounder was how I'd make people proud, and that was the only way. And we live and we learn as as when you're a young teenager, you got a lot to learn, and that was a huge learning year for me. I ended up getting a big injury that year. I got pucked through my cage and almost lost my eye and had a big crazy injury. But honestly, it was a blessing because it gave me time to kind of sit back and say. I remember my coach telling me that I was like a racehorse with just blinders on. He said, you got to just take this next month to just chill and not think about hockey. And yeah, it was the best thing that happened to me. Because I had a really poor start to the season. I was just all in my head. And then but thankfully I came back and played pretty well, and not well enough to get me in the first round, but got me in the fourth round and got me drafted to the Red Wings, which was a pretty great organization to go to.
So coming back from an injury like that, is it a little bit nerve-wracking trying to get back in the net after getting an injury up in the face area? Yeah.
So I'm the reason why the CHL doesn't wear cat-eye cages, the big holes.
Yeah.
So that was it was a very kind of traumatic injury. It took a lot of mental kind of fortitude, I guess is the word, to kind of get back in there. I remember as I was getting close, one of the last few days before I was going to play in my first game, I got my coaches to literally take shots in my head just because I needed to know that I could do it. I had a new cage. I had the big, lots of wires. But yeah, I remember my goalie coach, Stefan Waite, he was there and he couldn't pry it. Like the puck was stuck in the cage when it happened. And so it was a scary injury, that far away from losing my whole eye, but grateful that it didn't happen. And but yeah, it was kind of scary to come back from, for sure.
Right. Like, and after you get drafted, especially as a goaltender, like I think any position, but especially a goaltender, how difficult is it to get used to going from playing in the queue into going into the pro ranks? Like there must be quite a jump between those two leagues.
Yeah, you know what? Crazy. Like I was always the kid that would play better with better competition. I'd always, it was almost like when I played at my own age, I struggled a little more. It was like I don't know, I focused, or I got a little more up for the older competition, and so that was always a strength of mine, but also a weakness of mine because I needed to play the same way in my own age group. But I started going to Red Wings training camp, and I'm sitting there with Brendan Shanahan, Eisenman, and Brett Hull, and this is in their glory days where they had just a dream team. Dominic Hasek, Curtis Joseph, Manny Legacy, Chris Osgood. They were all, I was on the ice with all these guys, and so it was pretty eye opening. But crazy enough, I my first couple of camps I played unreal. Like it was some of the best hockey I played was at those camps. It's hard to not step up to the occasion, when you're playing against these guys and you just want to show that you fit in. But yeah, once you get to actually turning pro and it's your job now, I was still a junior guy just coming to camp, knowing that I was leaving in a couple weeks. But yeah, once it turns to be your job, it's a little different, and to do it every day. But yeah, I can't say that the adjustment was too hard. Playing in the queue, it's a pretty high level, but it was more the off-ice stuff, learning how to be a pro. I had 2 surgeries my first year of pro, so I only played 11 games my first year, and that really set me back. But it also was a blessing because I completely dedicated myself after that. I quickly became a fitness guy and nutrition and everything because I quickly realized how quickly this could be away from me.
Right.
I was pro, I got a contract and everything's great, but I quickly realized that there's a heck of a lot of goalies out there, and if I don't really dedicate myself to this, this career could be over before it barely starts. So yeah, best thing that happened to me probably. Came home that year, met a girl who ended up being my wife pretty soon after that, and then also just kind of learned. I became a sponge and said, I was always a hardworking goalie. I was always battling. Practice was my strength. Like I treated practice like a game, but off the ice, I just didn't know all those things. I didn't know nutrition. Back then it wasn't really that big of a priority as it was now. And the gym, I always worked hard, but then I'd go back home and eat 2 grilled cheese sandwiches and French fries, and it was just like I didn't know these things, so I just kind of dedicated myself to really being a pro.
I think that's the difference today. Like, they get everything there for them, like to set them up for success, where back then, like you said, you kind of had to do it yourself and learn as you go.
Yeah, you had to seek after all these things. You had to learn yourself. Nobody was kind of teaching you. The teams weren't really teaching you. It was up to you. Now with the Jets, these kids have no excuses. They're provided everything. I had to go seek out a sports psychologist. I'd seek out nutritionist, blah blah blah. And but yeah, now you still got to do your own thing in the summers, off season. But really, the teams will give you every opportunity to succeed.
Mm. So yeah, and I like the point you mentioned about how many, like with goaltenders, there's only so many in the league, because you think of it like, defensemen, you have 6 on the ice. Goaltenders, you only have your starter and your backup, so you're limited for jobs. So there's only how many teams. You need to make sure that you have one of those jobs. Yeah, there's not many out there.
Yeah, and people would always, I get it a lot that, oh, you're so close your whole career. Yeah, I got to play in the NHL, but I never got to be that full-time guy. But I battled my whole career, and I ended up being that number 3 guy for the majority of my career. But hey, I was a number 3 guy getting paid to play the game, and every year there's a new crop of goalies that every single organization is excited about this young guy that's who they think has a chance to be an NHLer. And so every year it got harder and harder, but it's grateful that I found that job that I was good at.
So after you played in the wing with the Red Wings, you went and joined Vancouver, and you played mostly with their AHL affiliate with the Manitoba Moose. What was your, you kind of came into your own when you were playing with the Moose. What was your key contributor in helping you make that next step on playing with them?
Yeah, so I got traded there. The odd man out. They got Jimmy Howard, Joey McDonald, and I was just, I had done well with Grand Rapids. Like, I'd started to show that I could play. My last year with there, I had a really good season. But it was still kind of, they'd already made up their mind with bringing Jimmy Howard in and keeping Joey. And so I was looking for a spot, and yeah, I took all summer, didn't have anything. And I was just going to go back to the East Coast League. And Like I knew I was the odd man out, but then right before I was actually driving to Detroit for for the training camp, and I got the call that I'd been traded to Vancouver. So they waited the very last second they could, but they traded for me, and I went out to Vancouver, and such an awesome organization with the Moose. You know, it all comes full circle. I work with almost all of them because they're all still there, and my goalie partner there was Wade Flaherty, and he's now the goalie coach for the Jets. My goalie coach with the Moose is who I took the job from when he retired, Rick St. Croix. My GM is my GM now, and you know, it's just pretty cool. But yeah, Rick St. Croix, my goalie coach, really, I started the season there playing okay, nothing crazy. You know, they had kind of taken a leap of faith with me, gave me a spot. You know, they gave me a spot. Like I got there and I got a house to rent and everything. Like it wasn't like you're going to go up and down. They gave me a spot, which was awesome. I was grateful for. And I started just having a really good game, having a bad game. You know, I was good, but nothing crazy. You know, Rick really helped me. Rick just kind of kept it positive, and we kind of made it. We kind of got to a point where it was like, hey, you can be that guy at this level. Like, you know, they saw it in me, and you know, and I think I had to realize it. I think I had to realize that I can do this every single night. You know, so I had to learn how to be that consistent guy, and yeah, it went pretty well there for 2 years in Manitoba.
And
so
I was just gonna say that, you know, especially in hockey, you know, it's a lot of mental mindset. When you're getting traded, that must be difficult as a goaltender to, you know, pick yourself up and say, okay, I can do it here too. Like after leaving the Red Wings, where you've been for a few years, and then go to Vancouver's organization and be like, they traded me because they don't need me, but
yeah,
you know, it must be hard mentally.
Yeah. I mean, I ended up doing a lot of it throughout my career. So you grow a thick skin, and you know, you realize that I mean, sometimes you feel like it's personal. It's usually not personal. It's usually they have a younger guy, or you know, they're picking somebody. I was a guy that had to work for everything, and there was always somebody with more skill than me or whatever. But you know, I did the little things that I think kept me around and got me jobs. You know, I was all those little things, you know, hard, just battling and teammate and all those things that I tried to focus on. But yeah, it can get humbling, but it can also be exciting because you know that team wants you, the team that's getting you, like, sought after you. So, you know, it's also a good feeling that way. So, and when you go to a new team, you just want to make them, I mean, proud, or you just want to make them look good. You know, you want to please them for kind of going out and getting you.
And one last question before Thomas, I'll let you take over. Did you mentioned Joey McDonald? I have to ask because he's another Maritimer. Did you have any connection with him beforehand?
No, just in Detroit. We were together for a couple of years, and yeah, great guy. We had a lot of fun together. I learned a lot from him. I was his backup when he played, like, it was a lockout year, and he was he had the most minutes in the league. I just watched him for a whole year, but it was.
I was just curious because I knew he was a Maritimer, so I'm like, and I know most of the time with goaltenders, I thought there'd be some kind of connection.
No, he was a few years older than me, so I never played against him growing up. But awesome guy. Learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
So December 13th, 2007, you made your debut with the Canucks against the San Jose Sharks. You came in relief. Maybe you can take us through that day.
I was called up. Luongo was injured, so it was Curtis Sanford and I. Like all my call-ups, usually it was the number one who was injured. Or, you know, I can't remember all of them, but usually it was the number one that was injured, and the backup kind of stepped in. And you know, I was just hoping to get a chance. Usually didn't happen. Usually they just kind of rode with the backup, and after a while it became kind of a thing where I didn't have that NHL experience, so they were always nervous to put me in. which was always the thing that I battled, which was the frustration point. But yeah, that day, San Jose was such a hard building to play in. It was such a cool building. They had a powerhouse team, Joe Thornton, Marleau, all those guys. And so there's always you had to be ready as the backup goalie in that building. And in that building, the backup goalie sits across the ice. So I was across the ice and the game started getting out of hand and I started having that feeling like, oh boy, this could be happening. So yeah, I don't remember how I was told, but somebody told, somehow they got my attention to get in there, or somebody skated across. I don't remember, it was all blur, but I do remember kind of getting myself together and skating to the far end of the ice. And I remember thinking like, holy smokes, this is really happening. Yeah, I went in and Joe Thornton ended up being my first goal against. He had a breakaway. I finished the second period, played well, came in and played well. And then in the third period, Joe Thornton came down on a breakaway and friggin' guy takes a slap shot, scores on me. So
you don't see that too often.
No, you don't see that too often. I really thought he was going to fake it, but he wound up and actually took it. So, and scored, but hey, pretty good guy to get your first goal against. And,
yeah, I was gonna say more than likely a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, it was pretty cool. So it was a fun night. Grateful for it. I ended up getting one more that year with Vancouver again. This was in Vancouver. Again, was kind of cleanup duty, but that game was actually close. So I got to. I got the decision, actually. I got the loss. I let in one goal, had a really good game, but, based on what the score was when I entered, I got the loss. So, but anyway, yeah, great experience. Great memory.
So do you did you find it easier coming in relief compared to maybe starting, or do you find that not knowing if you're going in is more nerve wracking?
Yeah, no, it's always, when you get thrown in, it's a lot of goalies thrive on that because they don't have time to think. That's kind of a good time to get your first game, I think. But hey, it was something that I constantly battled. I just wanted that start. I was just begging teams to give me that start. Just give me that start. And I know I'm good enough. I was confident. I know that I got my game to a level that I was an NHL goalie. I never got to be a full-time NHL goalie, but I knew that I was having success against all these guys in the AHL, and they go up and have tons of NHL success. So I knew I was good enough. I truly 1000% believed it. Just was begging for that chance. I never got that chance to start a game until I was 30 with the Leafs. But yeah, anyway, I'm not complaining. I don't say that with an ounce of resentment. I'm very grateful for the career I had.
One more question on Vancouver. So you finished the 2007-2008 year. You played your 2 games. You were an AHL All-Star, and you also scored an overtime winning goal with against the Chicago Wolves.
Yeah.
Did you know that you scored the goal because they passed it in their own net? And
yeah. No,
I
didn't.
At the time? You didn't know?
So I went down like this on my post, and my head was kind of turned, and it hit the knob of my stick. And then the guy got it and passed it back. So my head was kind of turned. I felt something hit my stick, but I didn't know if it was a puck or if it was the stick of a player or something. But yeah, he got the puck and went in, and I kind of thought to myself like, oh, but they gave it to my defenseman Danny Grew at the time. So hey, I didn't care. We just beat like the best team in the league. In overtime, we were about to go down. In overtime, we were about to be shorthanded, and their power play was the best in the league. They were amazing. So I knew that when you give them a 2-minute power play 4-on-3, it was going to be a tough way to hold them off. But so the game was over. We won. That's all I really cared about. But then we got in the room, and they're like, "Yeah, they gave it to you." They watched the replay. Anyway, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
So they probably didn't get the puck for you then.
You know what? I don't even remember. I have a bunch of pucks. I guess I should go look and see if that was one of them or not. But I think I did get the puck. I think I did. Yeah. I
I'm
think
trying
I
to
did.
think, was that your only goal in your career? Probably.
Yes. Yeah. I made a couple of attempts. I think I made one attempt and I almost did it, but nothing that I can say was anything close. I was a good puck handling goalie, but I wasn't the guy that was trying for empty nets all the time.
Yeah, well, hey, you got one goal in 18 years between that's more than I can say. So
Yeah.
so um so you made quick stops, you kind of bounced around for a few years. You went to the Predators, you went to the Thrashers, you were even the Canadians organizations. And then you didn't make your next NHL you didn't play in the NHL like an actual game until 2011 with Sabres. When you're deciding to sign with multiple teams, kind of what factors do you consider? Like what's best for your career? Are you looking at winning, or looking at what chances you'll have to play in the NHL? Like, what are you looking into?
It was mostly chances to play in the NHL. There was numerous years where I thought it was good enough to get that one-way contract. That one-way contract was something I was always fighting for.
Right.
Not just for money, but that would give me opportunity. When you got the one way, that means you have the first dibs on that kind of job. So that's what I wanted. I just wanted the one way so I could get, that kind of first dibs at the job, give me an opportunity. If I fail at it, then hey, I had the opportunity. So that was always what I was striving for, was that, getting a backup job, but it never came. So then we check that off the list. That's not happening. So then we go to, okay, best number 3 situation. Wanted to play all the time, wanted a good team, because as a goalie, when you have a good team, it makes you look a lot better. So I was able to do that for almost all my stops. I was really lucky to play on some really good teams. And then once I hit 25, we had our first daughter. We had a kid pretty early. She's 13 now. So then that always came into the equation. With family, a lot of guys 25 years old, they just go wherever they're getting paid most, or where they're going to get the best opportunity. But I had to start thinking about that. Obviously, when she was a baby, it didn't matter too much, but soon that became a pretty big thing as well.
Well, yeah, especially once they start the school, like getting into the school age, you don't want to take them out and then,
big time. Yeah.
So you played 2 games with the Sabres, both in relief appearances. Did you know actually you finished with the highest goals against average, or the lowest goals against average, with the Sabres? So I don't know if you keep in contact with Ryan Miller, but you can tell him you had a better goals against average than him that season.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I should tell him that. I got into one game in Columbus. I don't even remember the other game, but I got into one game in Columbus and played really well. And the next night, we were playing the next night, and I was like, for sure, I'm getting the start. But didn't get it. But it was. I remember that game really sticks out, because I that was a game where I got a lot of minutes, a lot of shots, and I was like, my feeling of belonging was there. I was like, yeah, I belong here, and I played really well. And anyway, like I said, I think it was at home. I think it was at home against, I forget who. Anyway, but yeah, Buffalo, that was only a 1-year thing. The season was one of my worst of my career in Rochester, but I got some time up with Buffalo, which was a lot of fun.
And it was kind of unique because, was it the next year it was the lockout or the shortened season?
Yeah, the next year, and I went to the KHL.
Yeah, so you went to the KHL, and then you came back. You signed a PTO. Was it PTO with Toronto Marlies? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, I went to the KHL and ended up breaking my ankle in training camp. So I was in one of the most beautiful cities, Prague, Czech Republic, and was injured. So my family and I had a good time being a tourist in Prague, and it was a great experience. But as soon as I came back, they brought in a new goalie. It was the lockout year, so there were so many goalies. It was a tough year to kind of go over there. But I gave it a try. Thought maybe that road could get me to the NHL. I wasn't giving up on the NHL, but I thought, hey, I'd seen other goalies go to the KHL and do well and then come back to the NHL. So I thought I'd give that a try. Didn't work. Came home, month and a half, sitting at home. Couldn't get a job anywhere in hockey. I was going down. I was trying to get jobs in Central League and East Coast League, Central League, and couldn't get anything. And it was the lockout year, so that had a lot to do with it. There was a lot of numbers everywhere. Finally, I remember January 1st, I left and got a job in Reading, Pennsylvania. Was there for a month and a half, had my family living in a hotel, and was just kind of sitting there like, oh man, is this it? Like, am I done? Thankfully, a good friend of mine came back into my career, Rick St. Croix, who I talked about. He was now the goalie coach with the Maple Leafs. Reimer got injured. I was watching it one night in my hotel room with my family and saw that Reims got hurt. And I texted my goalie coach, Rick, and I said, hey, if you guys are looking for a guy, I can be there tomorrow. And the next morning I got a phone call say, come to Toronto. And awesome 2 years there.
So in 2013, you finally made your first career NHL start with the Toronto Maple Leafs against Florida. How special was playing for an Original Six team and a Canadian one at that?
Yeah, like I said, the time in Toronto was very special. Just a great organization who really took a leap of faith on me, and grateful for every moment with the Marlies and then also with the Leafs. I got called up. Bernier got injured. They were comfortably in a playoff spot, having a really good year. I got there, and I think it was like 13 or 14 games left in the season, and I ended up being there for all of them. And we lost every single one. And to be there for the just the meltdown and the media, and just it was crazy. It was I ended up being my wife and I are quite close to the Reimers, and yeah, I felt really horrible for James. He was he was going through. They were just so hard on him, and I like the whole team. It just shows the great side of playing in Toronto, but that was also the crappy side of playing in Toronto. But James was a good friend, so we were together a lot. And but yeah, Randy Carlyle was coach. It started getting the question to me after every loss is if I was going to play. And anyway, they wouldn't play me, wouldn't give me a start. They thought the moment was kind of too big for me, which was really frustrating. I was having a really good year and with the Marlies, and it was just like, come on, I want this. So really super frustrating. Couldn't get in the net, and then finally, loss after loss, and finally we got eliminated with 2 games left. They gave me a start in Florida, so it was bittersweet because we really. The team sucked. We they really had a horrible game. I thought I had a pretty good game, but we lost 4-1. But I was so grateful for it. It was so great to be able to be there, and I actually got drafted in that building in Florida. Whatever it was, 12 years earlier, when I was 18, and now I'm 30, and my first start is in that same building. I remember looking up during the national anthem and saw that flag of the 2000 whatever year my draft was. It was just kind of like I chuckled and said, oh, that's now I'm here, and
it comes back full circle.
Yeah, it took a long time, but here 12 years later getting my start. So pretty but hey, I was super grateful for it. Was worth the wait, and it was fun.
I mean, I look at that Leafs team. I mean, their forward group I didn't think was that bad. But I looked at their defense and I'm like, oof, that's rough. I mean, it's hard for a goalie. You got to work with your defense. And
well, I mean, they had a really good team. It was just, they just got eliminated the night before. It was like a back-to-back night. It was just like, I'm not saying, it's just, they had been through a lot in the last month, just all the scrutiny and everything. And so yeah, they weren't as up for that game as all the other games, but anyway, it was fun. I played against Roberto Luongo, who we were roommates in Vancouver when I was a young punk. So it was great to play against him.
Now, with your first game, did your family manage to make it up to the trip and watch you, or
No. My wife was in Toronto with our little ones, and I found out like we could have made it happen, but it wasn't a back-to-back. Actually, we did have a day off, so yeah, they could have came in, but we kind of just left it. It would have been crazy. Would have been the day of the game, just kind of bombing it in there. And we had two little ones. Like our youngest was basically a baby. So yeah, we decided not to. My wife kind of just thought it was better to watch it. Anyway, it was, we did consider it, but no, nobody, I had a couple friends at the game that were in Florida just vacationing, but yeah, nobody was able to fly in.
So kind of after you're playing in the AHL and NHL, kind of playing in North America, after the 15-16 season, you decided to sign over in Russia. Why at that time of your career did you decide to go overseas?
Yeah, so I did 2 years in Charlotte, North Carolina. Loved it there. My family and I loved it. It was a beautiful city, great place to, the girls were set up really well, and we loved it there. My last year didn't go well. I didn't play well. Was in a kind of a crappy situation. Anyway, I just kind of thought, all right, let's finally, I'd for years been getting offers in Europe. I'd gone to the Spengler Cup for 3 years, 2 years in a row at that point. I ended up playing the next year as well. But 2 years in a row going to the Spengler Cup really opened my eyes to say, this could be pretty cool, actually. So I opened it up, kind of, I told everybody I'm willing to go. I'm willing to listen. And I signed a contract with a 2-year deal, really good contract. Had my girl signed up in an international school in Hamburg, Germany. That was during our playoff run in the AHL. And then long story short, in the summer, the team folded. The team folded, and I was out. I was out of job. Didn't get a penny of that money. Had to pull my girls out of the school. The crappy side of the business of hockey, I saw that summer. But I still, and I missed out on a lot of jobs. A lot of the jobs were already taken. So I had to wait. I had to wait it out until October. A good friend of mine, Gordy Dwyer, was the coach, and it wasn't Russia. It was actually Croatia, Zagreb, Croatia. So I signed there in the KHL. Ended up going there and playing really well. Kind of just showed myself well in that league, which was really fun to do because it's such an awesome league. Played in the Spengler Cup, and then after the Spengler Cup, the transfer deadline was there, and our team was basically folding as well. The Croatian team was tons of money problems, barely able to pay players, and it got pretty bad. So I knew the writing was on the wall. They were basically selling all the players off, and it got pretty bad there. So I ended up going to Mannheim in Germany, and they're one of the best franchises in all of hockey. Unreal. Treated us like it was the NHL. It was awesome. So much fun. Went there and played really well there. And then same thing, couldn't get a job the whole summer. I did well in both leagues, but it's really tough for import goalies over there because there's only a few spots. So they only get a few import spots. So it can be really, most teams don't want to use one of their spots on a goalie, which, kind of makes you scratch your head, but because it's probably the most important position. But anyway, it's so I waited again that summer and then got a job in Germany in Straubing. And then after that, I was tired of bouncing around. We had a horrible team, and I ended up going to Slovakia at the deadline. So in those 2 years in Europe, I played on 4 different teams, bouncing around, and I just kind of was like, finally listened to Asia. I'd had those offers for years from the Asian League, and said, all right, I became open to it, and it was unreal decision. Couldn't ask for a better. It was an unreal way to finish my career. We absolutely loved it in Japan.
So I guess we'll ask the last question about your playing career. Is you played multiple countries overseas. I mean, what's the place that you enjoyed the most?
Well, I mean, going to the Spengler Cup is a special experience. I did that for 3 years. My daughters were spoiled rotten. They had 3 Christmases in a row of Switzerland and Hockey Canada treating us like absolute gold. And so amazing experience. Switzerland is so cool. The games are just like electric. And Germany too. Like my time in Europe, Slovakia too as well. Like the fans are jumping up and down, singing the whole game. It's a lot of fun. Like, so we didn't have that in Japan. So I went to Asia, and there's not big numbers, but the fans that are there are very reserved, and they're very reserved. So it was like the complete opposite going from Europe to there. And it's like, so the atmospheres aren't the same, but the game is growing, and the hockey was actually really good. There was only 2 imports on a team. So anybody who wants to know about my time in Japan, I just say, go watch the movie Mr. Baseball, Tom Selleck. Most young people wouldn't know what that movie is, but I don't know where you can find it, but try to find it. And they nail it as far as the experience. It was me and another guy, and then we have an interpreter, and they absolutely nail the experience, like the cultural differences and stuff. It was so fun. It was, they made my family feel so special. It was a great experience for all of us, my girls as well, just to experience that culture. They're beautiful people over there, and it was a great way to finish my career.
And you ended up winning it that last year, right? That was the championship year. So it ended off on a good note.
I lost in the finals my first year, and then I lost in the semis in games like 7 my second year, and then we won it the last year. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We got to, the league was made up of Korean teams, Japanese teams, and then 1 Russian team. And the Korean one of the Korean teams and the Russian team were way better than the Japanese teams. So it was tough to win, but so they needed good goalies, and the goalies in the league were really good. And like the imports in the league were really, they were very sought after jobs. They paid well. Season was short. We only played 36 games. So, at the end of your career, it was pretty great way to play.
And we
won't keep you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we get that from a lot of the players that are playing in Europe right now, is that a lot of the Maritimers have said that it's definitely like a soccer vibe when you go over there and play.
Oh yeah. That's what they compare everything to is soccer. So they kind of cheer the same way as they do for soccer. So it's fun. It's fun for sure. It was a great way to my family and I, like our girls were young. They got to see the world a bit. So we were grateful for that for sure.
We won't keep you much longer. We'll get a couple more questions here about what you're doing now.
Yeah.
First off, can you kind of describe what your role is with the Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose?
Yeah. So I guess the easiest way to describe it is we have a goalie coach with the Jets, Wade Flaherty. He's in charge of those 2 goalies, Hellebuck and Rittich now. And essentially I'm in charge of everybody else. I'm day-to-day with the Moose on their coaching staff, but I also oversee all of our prospects all over the world. And then I also oversee the drafting of goalies in the draft. So it's not a lot of travel. I go to the big events for the drafting, but I do a lot of it on video.
So you were at the draft there in Montreal there a couple months ago?
No, they said they told me I didn't need to, and I was happy to stay home. They called me. I was in constant communication with our head scout, and then when it became time to draft the goalie, we decided on who to draft, and so I drafted my first goalie, which was a lot of fun. I watched him play all season, and we had him ranked really high compared to where he went. So it was fun, and I'm excited to kind of work with the goalie from scratch, right from the draft, and so all the other goalies I've had, it's, they've been inherited to me, but this guy, I'll start right from the start of the journey with them. So yeah, that'll be fun. But I love the job. Absolutely love it. I love that development side of things, the mentor side of things, which is what I've been doing for a while with the goalie school and here in PEI. And then it was it was very natural to me.
So how frequently do you keep in contact with the goalies within the organization?
Well, during the season, it's constant, obviously, but in the summer, I don't bother them too much, but I still, every couple of weeks or a month, I'd say every couple of weeks, we have like 7 goalies in our organization, besides our 2 Jets guys. So, it's not like other development guys that can have 20, 30, so I give them a lot, close attention because of that. I don't have high numbers, so I make sure I'm talking to their goalie coaches in the summer and making sure they're doing the right things. And we do monthly or biweekly testing and make sure that their testing results are improving and not regressing. And yeah, and then when we go to training camp, September is a very busy month for me. I go there and I'm there for a while. And we're going to have a development, like a prospects tournament against Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, and us. So that'll be fun. Work with our prospects. We're going to have 3 prospect goalies there at the draft or at the tournament. So have some time with them for a few weeks for training camp, before training camp, and then training camp, and then the guy we drafted will go back to junior, and I'll go visit him a few times throughout the year and watch all his games on video and talk to his goalie coach and all that kind of stuff to just make sure that we're giving them the best chance to develop into an NHL goalie. That's really what it comes down to.
So on top of what you're doing with the Jets, we already kind of a little bit discussed about your goalie school. Can you kind of explain what your kind of your mission is there?
Well, we haven't developed a goalie. I'm the last goalie that's really played full time in the queue since. Well, there hasn't been one since me. There's been guys who played some games here and there, or whatever. But like full time, we haven't pumped out any goalies on the island, and it's it's really disheartening because New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, they're constantly every year they're pumping out goalies. So it's kind of got to the point where friends of mine with Hockey PEI and everything, we've just realized whatever we're doing is not working. So we've changed it all the last 4 years, I'd say, 3 years. Obviously, COVID was hard to do a lot of the stuff we wanted, but yeah. So I started there with helping Hockey PEI. Started my goalie school, and obviously the goalie school is different than the Hockey PEI stuff, but we just did a video for all the coaches on the island, and we're requesting that they give our goalies some 5-10 minutes at the start of practice, and I've given them drills with a video. So there's kind of no excuses. Goalies need more attention, and we've totally neglected them here on the island. So we need to give them more attention, because goalies need to have fun. They need to enjoy the position, and they also need to feel that they're improving. If they don't feel that they're improving, then and if practices are they're just targets, then why would you want to keep doing it?
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my mission on the island, is just to give these kids some teaching, and make it more of a priority with all of our practices and stuff, and that kind of stuff. We're just starting now. We haven't really been able to do that. We've just been kind of providing more teaching for goalies all across the island. And obviously the goalie school is a private thing that I do it in the summer. I have a group of kids all throughout the winter that I kind of mentor. I call it the mentorship group. So I do monthly sessions, and again, that's a private thing. But then this summer I'm in the middle of 3 weeks straight of goalie schools. So Yeah, we're just trying to provide some goalie friendly, exclusive goaltender training. It's not that easy to find.
And you get I know you got the drills and stuff, but also the mental side of it too is quite a bit bit for that position. Because I mean, especially now with social media, if you make a mistake, I mean, everybody sees it, right?
Yeah. No, it's that's why I call it state of mind, because I wanted these kids to learn these tools at a much younger age. I learned them when I was already a professional goalie, which is, too late. Like, I need to learn these things earlier. When I was a major junior, I was first start one night and then I was pulled the next night. And it was like I couldn't figure out it took me a while to get that steady Eddie to be that guy. And so it's been a kind of a mission with the goalie school to teach these kids, not just so they can be Quebec League or college or NHL goalies, but just helps them cope with life. So we do a mental training session every daily at the goalie school, and we talk about these things that are get in the way of hindrances of goaltenders. We bring them to our attention. What is the challenges of being a goalie, and we try to tackle them. So it's been a really cool experience. I think majority of the goalies say it's definitely helped. So it's stuff you'd like to do with them all year round, but that's kind of impossible. But it's great. We're trying to give them some tools in their toolbox.
So if people are looking at joining one of your summer camps, how do they go on and apply?
We have a website, stateofmindgoaltending.ca, stateofmindgoaltending.ca. We're full for the summer, but usually around Christmas time, the registration opens up for the next summer. So with my job at the Jets, I do a lot of, when I'm home, I travel back and forth, and when I'm home, I do a lot of hockey PEI stuff throughout the winter. So it's not a lot of private stuff throughout the winter now. That may change, but right now I focus more on hockey PEI stuff throughout the winter. But then I'll have summer stuff next summer and my mentorship group all throughout the winter as well. So it keeps me busy enough.
Yeah, you seem like you have a lot on your plate. So
Well, right now, this month is very busy, but it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun, and I enjoy working with the kids and just making them see that goaltending can be pretty fun.
Well, we appreciate you coming on and talking to us because we know how busy you are, and we just really appreciate it.
My pleasure. You guys do an awesome job. Guys like me, they forget about pretty quick when you're not playing with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it's I know a lot of friends and family just love seeing you guys like post stuff, and friends just be like, oh cool, like congrats, like or whatever, just to know what we were up to. So especially in our European and Asia experience, a lot of friends and family really appreciate what you guys do.
Oh, thanks. Well, when
me as well.
Well, we knew when we talked to you a couple weeks ago at the Maritimers NHLers for Kids tournament. Yeah. When we drove back, we were like, we need to talk to Drew because we want to find out more about his career, because it was something we wanted to.
No, I appreciate your time, guys.
No. Anything you have to say, Tanner?
No, I think I'll just kind of ditto what Thomas said and say that I really appreciate it. You were one of the goaltenders when we were both growing up that was still like playing. So there's not much from the Maritime. So it's when we know that you're playing in the AHL, we knew, hey, he's a PEI boy. So
no, I appreciate that. I've had a lot of support from the Maritimes through my whole career. So I appreciate everybody.
No, and we look forward to seeing another goalie come from the island, hopefully soon.
That's the goal. Yeah.
All right, Drew. No, that's perfect. Thank you very much. I hope that your camp goes good the rest of the summer, because I know it's pretty important to get that get that through. So
yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
All right, you too now.
You too.
Yeah. Bye.